Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Thursday, June 1st, and why am I happy it's a Thursday? Because I get to talk to my buddy Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Talk to him a couple times a week, every Monday and Thursday, and today we're going to be covering some Major League Baseball, and Doug will be back with us tomorrow, too, by the way, folks. We're going to do a Stanley Cup final preview and also each give you a pick on game one of the Stanley Cup Finals that takes place on Saturday between the Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. But today we're talking baseball. Today we're talking to Doug Upstone. Doug, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well, Ross. It's just another exciting day in the sports world, and we're into June, okay, the quote-unquote summer months. And so that's never a bad thing anywhere, okay,
Yeah.
for that matter, even in Rochester, for God's sakes and stuff.
Yeah, man, right. It's the best time of year in Rochester. It's 78 degrees here today.
There you go.
We just had the PGA here a couple weeks ago, and good time of year to be around. Buffalo Bills training camp or just around the corner here in Rochester. So a lot of good stuff going on here locally,
Hey,
Doug. But
speaking of Buffalo, hey, they got to sign Hopkins.
It doesn't look good right now because he's looking for a deal similar to what Odell Beckham got, a 1-year deal worth $15 million, and the cap space for Buffalo doesn't dictate it. They offered him a huge incentive contract based on incentives that would pretty much get him to that point. But, you can't blame Hopkins. I mean, he's a proven receiver, one of the best in the game, and he wants something similar because stop and think about it. When you're talking about D-Hop and you're talking about OBJ, D-Hop has produced a hell of a lot more in recent seasons than OBJ has. So can't blame him. It's about business.
Right. Absolutely. No. I was just curious because I know they were high on the list early.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing, I don't think anybody knows anything about it, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not it won't happen. I'm just saying by what I've read, I'd be shocked because that's not Brandon Beane, the way he built this franchise. He's not going to move all kinds of salaries around and readjust salaries and get rid of players just for one guy. Now that one guy might put you over the top, but at what expense? I mean, what happens after this year? So to answer your question, to my knowledge, I think at this point it's highly unlikely. I think Buffalo keeps themselves in a conversation because they don't want him to go to Kansas City. So,
that's one thing I was thinking. Absolutely.
So
that'd be everybody's nightmare from that standpoint, especially in the AFC. From that standpoint. But anyways, so everything is good, Ross. A lot of good things coming up. We got finals in the NBA, NHL. You mentioned NHL. We have all that starting to come to fruition. And then I know right after the USFL, I know your second favorite football is Canadian football, and we are close to that now too. So I know you've been doing your homework. I know you've been doing whatever's necessary, working up on your pronunciation of guys with Canadian names. So I just want to make sure that you're as excited about it as I am.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Pierre at quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And the Ottawa Roughnecks, is that what they are? I don't know if they're
Rough Riders.
Roughnecks.
That's you and your
That's a rough ride when you're trying to handicap the CFL when you can't even get the nickname of a team right. But no, that's not my cup of tea, but it is yours. And tell the folks a little bit about what they could expect from Doug Upstone at DocSports.com when it comes to the CFL. And baseball is in full fruition right now, and whatever else they expect from you this summer.
Well, CFL, I'll be doing that when it comes around. Like I say, it's coming around pretty quickly here from that standpoint. And actually, I'll be honest, I don't spend hours and hours of research on it, from that standpoint. But working on getting familiar as we ramp up, and I always start slow. I don't go heavy, big, like a lot of people, big plays just to make sales. No, I don't do that. I want people to see a track record of me winning and then go from there. But already started the day with a baseball winner, the New York the New York Mets today, so that was good.
Yeah, I had the Mets on a run line. I don't know about you.
Okay, I did not go run line, but that I'm glad you brought that up because that's a nice segue as it's going to turn out here. NBA, I've been doing more props. I think I've mentioned to you. I don't know if I've told everybody here, but I have been doing more props, and tonight I actually have a best bet, a 5-unit best bet going in props tonight in the NBA. 7-3 run overall. Those have actually all been baseball, but there's something I really like tonight, so I'm pounding that one. And also have the side in or I have a side, I should say, in the game one between the Heat and the Nuggets. 17-12, 47-33 runs. Not special, certainly, but solid. Okay, so I'm happy to be able to go that direction, and I'm looking forward to the NHL because I'm not targeting game one, but if I get the right result on game one, I know I'm going to come back with game two with a bigger play and big plays for me and the NHL. Most recently, 17-8, 68%, I think that is.
Yes,
so yeah, some good stuff there, Ross.
Yeah, great stuff. A lot of good things happening for Doug over at DocSports.com, where you could check him out. Canadian Football League starting soon. Doug will have picks there. PGA, Doug?
No PGA. Probably, like I said, had an interesting occurrence this year with just say a disagreement on something with someone at Docs on this, but that has been since resolved, and so I'm not going to pick it up now this time of year. I've been betting it personally, each and every week, but next year I'll definitely have that. But I still got the USFL, Ross.
Yeah, that's
we got
right.
Week 8. I'm off an upset winner last week, so watch out. I'll be having a play for sure on either Saturday or Sunday again this week.
And gimmick football at its finest. USFL and CFL, all kinds of guys in motion, 12 guys on the field, 3 downs, not 4 downs, a rouge, which if you don't know what that means, it's worth 1 point when you miss a field goal or you punt into the end zone and the other team elects not to bring it out. Yes, they bring it out to the 20 or 25-yard line, whatever the rule states in the CFL, but you also get a point. The kicking team gets a point. You know what? You got to keep up with those rules if you know what you're doing and betting on the CFL. Jesse Schul also does the CFL, who's with us a few times a week here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Don't forget, folks, you're watching the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and we're sponsored by GamblersWorld.com. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, I don't know what you're waiting for because it's absolutely free, and we have some of the finest handicappers in the country. And over the last 10 plus weeks, we're right around 60%, just a shade under at 59.8 with our free picks. So, I mean, again, no hidden agenda, no subscription plan. You'll see that WC on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, which stands for, obviously, Winner's Circle. Click on that. A subscribe button comes up. Hit the subscribe button. And while you're there in your YouTube settings, hit your notification bell, and you'll be notified immediately upon all of our Winner's Circle Sports Betting podcasts going up on this channel, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, depends on what's going on in the world of sports. But all good things, folks. And don't forget, at the end of the video, as Jesse would say, smash that like button. All right, Doug, anything in the world of sports betting that you would like to bring up, or world of sports betting, period, before we get to our Major League Baseball picks? And folks, reminding you, Doug is promoting his pick in the NBA tonight. We are recording on Thursday, June 1st. The games we're going to be covering in Major League Baseball are on June 2nd. So depending on when you view this video, these lines are subject to change, and the NBA game might be done and over with for some of you by the time you view this. So in any event, Doug, anything that you'd like to discuss?
I would. Well, you like I said, you created a segue for me, which is baseball. It has to do with run lines. Now, here's my just a more of a theoretical question, just to let people know, and then just your feelings on this general topic. Do you do run line underdogs much?
I very seldom do, if at all. I have on a couple occasions over the last couple years, maybe once or twice a year, Doug. But my run line plays have to do with favorites at plus money.
And I have been exactly the same way. The one thing though that I noticed in just surveying the internet and seeing what people are doing, what people are talking about, I'm very much interested in those types of things, and I'm seeing more and more, excuse me, more and more, and especially this season, and even more so. I'll even let's say go more this season lately. That's what I'm trying to say. More lately is the fact that people are taking the +1.5 with I'll call it the minus odds on that. And the visitors this year, and especially of late, they've been winning at a pretty high rate, higher than normal, and particularly, like I say, of late, higher than normal. And so you're seeing a lot of people been playing those more. And I think I know where you're coming from as to why you have done it. I'll give you my 2 cents, and I think we're in agreement on this. It's just I just hate to, even though I'm getting extra runs, I hate to give up, those odds. Okay,
Yeah.
to go minus 170, to go minus 150 is plausible, but 170 or higher. And that's why I've always shied away from it, despite the fact of getting a 1.5 runs. But I'm starting to change. As this evolves, like I said, more and more people are willing to do minus 180. There's plenty of people that are doing minus 210s, aren't doing run lines. Hey, you know what? I just want to win the game. Okay, and that's how they're betting. You're seeing more and more handicappers doing that. So it just seems to be a general trend within the industry. And so I don't know what the sweet spot is, but it seems like, if there's like we've kind of talked about, there's like maybe a threshold to do minus odds, but yet getting, as an underdog, you're getting runs. So, so what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I that's what shies me away. Like you just said, when we start getting into 170s and 180s, as you mentioned, using that for an example, you need to be you need to be around 70% to make money and get a decent return on your investment to do that. You can't go 6-4 laying those kind of odds. You can't go 58% laying those kind of odds. It's not going to be worth your while. And even if you do hit 58 or 60%, you're either going to break even or make a very small profit margin for that type of stress and headache. So that's why I shied away from it. Now, if you get into +1.5 and minus 140 or less, you may be able to make a strong case for using it. Okay. And people will say, well, why just bet them to win the game outright and get plus money? Well, a lot of times games end in 1-run differentials, and why not get the extra 1.5 runs and not be greedy on the juice? I guess it's just never been my style. And when you get into run line odds, in my opinion, when you get 130 and below, minus 130 and below, you're looking at usually a team on the money line that's well over minus 200. So the probability, again, I like to me, you have to have a realistic chance to win the game, and just not throw it out there and hope for big odds to come through for you. So I've shied away from that, Doug. It just goes against everything that I believe in in terms of money line betting. I don't crucify anybody who does. I know Jesse does it a lot. But Jesse also hits a high percentage of those plays. And when I say high percentage, 70 or above. But you could get bitten behind real easy going that route because you lose a few in a row, and you can get a little panic that sets in because you're losing a lot of money as opposed to just getting the plus money. But I guess it depends on your school of thought, and mine would be no evolution is going to change my mind in that kind of regard. So
sure. It's just I just look, all of this stuff always fascinates me. Okay. And you see how the marketplace changes. I guess you would call it evolving. And one of the things that I see, and I see this particularly with newer bettors, is that they're more ready to fire, and in terms of actual, let's just call it an understanding of money management, they're not necessarily interested in that. And so, for example, I've seen some of things like this with records. So somebody, for example, could be doing baseball. I'm not saying right this second, but let's just say it's August, and they could be 50 games over 500. Okay, so having theoretically a really nice season in terms of wins and losses from that standpoint, but yet their units, okay, are like right around mid-20s, okay, or even sometimes even a little lower than that. So it seems like the better today more and more is interested in the wins and losses and less about, they're interested in making profit, but maybe not the profit that they should be making, or how you and I came about this, where that was more important. It's like, no, you don't see anybody everybody says do money management, but you don't see anybody talking about it anymore. No. And there's a reason, because nobody cares, from that standpoint.
I care and you care.
Oh, no, I do too. But I'm just saying that's just how it's evolved.
Yeah. And that's a big mistake amongst some of the novice bettors out there that don't fully comprehend exactly what they're getting into. Minus 180, minus 190, minus 200. Again, you're going to have to hit 70% or above, folks. And I know it sounds easy when we're talking about 2-1 favorites, but it really isn't. You just can't look at a starting pitching matchup, not look at any other of the intricacies involving that matchup, and just say, well, with that starting pitcher and how hot they are, I'm going to lay 220. Who cares? I just want to win. And yeah, that works. You know what I mean? I guess if you're up 20 units, if you're 50 games over, you could defend yourself by saying, hey, I'm still making a good profit. And you're right. The problem is for guys like us is it's very hard for us to maintain credibility when we start giving out chalks that high, because the old saying is they don't need us for that. And I think when you see a lot of the veteran handicappers out there, you very seldom see them giving out those types of numbers. Like myself, I very seldom will lay more than 140 on a money line, and I'll rarely will I go even close to 150. But that's me. You know what I mean? And we all have our philosophies when it comes to sports betting. We've both been doing this for around the same time over the last 2 decades. So we're doing something right. It doesn't mean we're doing it all the same way. So I guess it's one of those philosophical things, Doug.
Yeah. Oh, no question that it is, and like I say, and I have changed my feelings. I've mentioned this before, but I've changed my feelings more in recent times. I'm talking about baseball specifically, because we're seeing so many games now, or I should say, we're seeing the lack of games with lines that are the minus 140s, the minus 150s. To me, all of those games from 6 or 7 years ago, they would see those lines. All those lines are 20 cents higher now. Yeah. Okay. So from that standpoint, and the ones that are minus 130 or to minus 150, those games in that range, not that many years ago, those games would have been, close to a pick, or at best, minus 120 if you wanted the favorite. So it's just how the market's evolved. The bookmakers are sharper. They have the algorithms to find out and determine exactly where they need to place these things at, and it works for them. Okay, they're making money, and so you have to adapt. From my point of view, you just have to adapt. I don't like doing it in some cases, but if I really feel like I got an edge that I have, you mentioned 2-1, I would have to say, like today, taking the Mets on the money line of 180, I felt like I had a far better than 2-1 edge, okay, to win that game based on all the factors which you had mentioned. On all the factors.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you won, right? I mean, now if you lose 3 in a row like that, or you're 60% going 180 all the time, or 60% over the course of a season when you go 180 or above on around 50-year picks, then it doesn't make sense, because due to math, it's not going to work. I will say this, Doug, since you brought the topic up, I certainly would lean more toward taking the plus 1.5 on an underdog in baseball than I would in the NHL, because the NHL, baseball doesn't have the probability of now, in the old days, they would pull the goalie down one with a little over a minute to go. That used to be the benchmark. Now it's anywhere from 2.5 to 2 to as much as 3 minutes where they're pulling goaltenders. So I would, if I was to lean toward taking a plus 1.5 in money line betting, it would be on Major League Baseball as opposed to the NHL. I will tell you this, and then we're going to move on to our picks, folks. So thank you for being patient, and we hope that you're gaining some knowledge by this discussion. And the one thing that I have adapted to is I'm starting to be a big believer in the first 5 in baseball.
Okay. Yep.
Again, we've discussed this time and time again, Doug. When you have a great starting pitcher and a bad bullpen, why not take the bullpen out of the equation, right? I mean,
yep.
And more times than not, if that's the case, you're going to be, I would say your win percentage will increase dramatically by going to first 5 rather than the whole game. Now, I don't know about dramatically, but it will increase, in my opinion.
Yeah, you make the right picks, are definitely going to increase. Kevin Gossman, a good example, on his season, on what he's got an ERA of just over 3, I think. Yeah. He won today, but the Toronto is 3-3. Yeah. Excuse me, 6-6 in his 12 starts, and they've averaged just 3.3 runs per game. Yeah. Okay. So, and the bullpen's blown some of those games. Okay. Yeah. For him and for the team. So, perfect example right there.
If you want to dig a little further, you find out when that pitcher got removed from each one of his starts and where his team was at that point. So if you could really nail it down to what pitchers have, what starting pitchers in Major League Baseball has been affected most by their bullpen's ineptness, and that's one way to go. But again, you get a starting pitching mismatch. You get 2 good starting pitchers with 2 bad bullpens. Why not go under the first 5? So, I mean, It's not an exact science, folks, and we're never going to have the edge, but you want to reduce the edge the sports books have on you. And that's the way to do it when you start getting into stuff like that. Anyway, Doug, let's talk baseball.
All right,
Dodgers and the Yankees, baby.
Oh, classics. Classic matchup, okay, from that standpoint. And to me, this is one of the beauties of going with the balanced schedule, is that every other year now, if you live in Los Angeles or New York, you can see the opposite team, okay? See, when they come to your ballpark, I think it's wonderful. I'm looking forward to this series, Ross, to be honest. Yankees they're in third place in the wickedly tough AL East. Despite how well Tampa Bay's played, the Yankees are only 6 games back.
Okay? Listen to Doug, wicked tough. He's living in Boston now. Go ahead.
Okay, wickedly tough. There you go. Okay, so yes, so but they're only 6 games back in the loss column. Okay, and we're just a third of the way through the season. Yankees offense, they're scoring 4.7 runs per game. Ross knows all about this. Their core players tend to get injured. Okay. It's just how it is now. And all these guys have gotten older. Some of their guys that they depended on kind of in the past aren't as productive as they used to be. And you really get a sense of what this team is about in their last 7 games offensively. If you start with the first 3, they scored 6 runs in those 3 games. Their next 3 games, 10, 10, 10. Followed by yesterday being shut out at Seattle. So now they average 5 runs per game over that period, but they did it the hard way to get there. Okay, no matter how you want to look at it. So I just don't know if that offense you can count on. Okay, that's a big thing. Now, another thing that occurred, the Dodgers, okay, this is supposed to be the year they don't win the National League West, okay, because San Diego's coming at them. Well, San Diego's not coming at anybody. They're a lot closer to Colorado than they are to the Dodgers right now. Now, the Arizona Diamondbacks are right there with them. Now, despite the fact that they lost Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Justin Turner and Gavin Lux before the season, they still have the best offense in the National League and 3rd overall, averaging 5.6 runs per game. Dodgers' weakness, bullpen, okay, and injuries to their starting pitchers. The bullpen actually does a good job when they have a lead, okay? That's the one thing. Their save percentage is very high, but if the game is close or if they're within 1 run, well, Dodgers are losing those games, okay? So what do we got? Got Luis Severino back, okay, looks good. 2, I would say, 1 pretty good start. The one he went over 6 innings. The other one was 4 2/3, I think it was. But he pitched well, okay, in both instances. And he's going to be going up against Clayton Kershaw, who's been roughed up a little bit of late. Okay, he's not the same pitcher he used to be when he was the absolute dominant pitcher of his era. But still, even with being roughed up, 3.10 ERA. I think 90% of the pitchers in baseball would take.
Oh, absolutely.
Would take that ERA. So I'm looking at this one. Dodger Blue at home, 19-8, and against right-handed starting pitchers, 24-15, and averaging 6 runs per game. Yankees 3-10 on the road after a game in which the combined score was 2 runs or less. Dodgers, when the money line is -100 to -150, they are 12-1 this season. Ross, give me Dodger Blue. Okay, at -140 on this one.
Yeah, you can get a 135 out there too. Right now, DraftKings has a 135. Doug is trying to meet you in the middle here because the lines, right now, the lines that are out in the few sports books that do have lines, again, folks, this game is going to be played tomorrow night, and it's close to 30 hours in advance right now. So these lines, like I said, are subject to change. But right now, anywhere from 135 to 145. Doug is being generous. He's giving you 140 because he's going in the middle. Me, I would take the 135. Shame on you if you don't shop your lines. But if you're confined to just one book and that's all you could afford, that's fine. The Dodgers, to me, are the play as well. The big deal right now with me with the Yankees, yes, they put up 10 runs on 3 straight occasions, and then yesterday get shut out in extra innings. But the bottom line, I look at their lineup right now, and the guys that they're missing, Giancarlo Stanton's out of the lineup. They finally got rid of Aaron Hicks, and they're going younger there. Who else are they missing? I know Anthony Rizzo was out of the lineup for a day or two. You start, and then Josh Donaldson, say what you will about him, but he's still a veteran presence. But at the end of the day, I look at the Yankees lineup and say, how are they producing this much offense? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Aaron Judge has been a monster. But if you could eliminate him out of the equation, which teams haven't been able to do so far, I think you control the Yankees. A veteran pitcher like Clayton Kershaw is not going to let one guy beat him. Say what you will, he's not the dominant pitcher he once was, like Doug said. But at the end of the day, the guy knows how to pitch, and he's a veteran. And I think based on all of what we just said, that Doug's pick on the Dodgers is the one that makes the most sense in this game. Take the Dodgers -135 over the New York Yankees on Friday, June the 2nd. That's from Doug Upstone, and you can find Doug at DocSports.com. And you heard his records, folks. Not only the free picks good here on this channel, but pay a little money, tip your bartenders, pay a little to make a lot. All right, I'm going to look at, speaking of the Arizona Diamondbacks, we're going to look at them, Doug, and they're hosting the Atlanta Braves in what's an intriguing matchup. Lo and behold, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 10 games over 500. And I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that, even at this early juncture of the season. Doug being a native of Phoenix there, I think he would agree with that assessment. Doug, I mean, you're a little bit surprised by
no question. I thought they'd be better, but not this good.
Yeah. So there you go. And there's a guy who's living right in that area and listening to all the media takes and reading all the articles in the paper. And a guy I trust in terms of especially when it comes to baseball. Doug is an MLB buff. And that's an understatement. Anyway, Atlanta's going to be coming off an off day. They're 4-2 this year, off an off day. Charlie Morton gets a start. He's been roughed up over the last 2 outings. 6.97 ERA, 1.94 WHIP. The thing about Charlie Morton, he can be so good for stretches, and then all of a sudden he just looks. He shows a lot of erraticism, if that's a word. He's erratic. And Morton also 10 starts this year, a deceiving 3.59 ERA, Doug, because his WHIP is around 147, which is borderline bad. And that indicates to me he's wiggled out of a lot of jams throughout the course of the year. Merrill Kelly, I always like this guy. Last 3 starts, he's in great form. 1.96 ERA, 0.87 WHIP, averaging over 6 innings pitched per start. better than 4-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and Arizona went 3-0 in those games that Merrill Kelly started that I just alluded to. Arizona's also won 4 straight. They've won 7 of their last 9 at home, and the Atlanta Braves got off to a great start to the season, especially on the road. But lately, 8-12 over their last 20 games, including 3-6 in their last 9 on the road. And they're coming off losing 2 of 3 at Oakland. Not a good sign. And they only scored, I think they scored 6 runs in 3 games series. And if you look at Oakland's pitching statistics, they're awful. They're awful. And they lost 2 of 3. Now, that's not to say Atlanta's a bad team, but right now they're not playing their best baseball. I think that's a fair statement. And I'm going to take Arizona plus money here, Doug, plus 110 over the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I actually was originally I was going to go to that game. Ended up having a back issue, which is preventing me from going. So that's I can sit in this chair and talk to Ross, but I can't. I don't think I could sit in a stadium for all that period of time. But yeah, I agree. Merrill Kelly is outstanding. He is the quintessential number 2 starter. Okay, I mean he's not really an ace, but boy, every time he goes out there, he pitches well. Okay, with rare exception. And now that they got a better team, super aggressive team, they love to run the bases. They got a lot of speed now in the outfield, so they're chasing down a lot more fly balls than what they used to. So manager is super. Okay, just really doing a good job with this young team, and they made a wise decision not to fire him a couple of years ago when they lost 109 games because he is a good manager. And so I like their team. I agree with you. You know, Atlanta, you know, I'll give a pass on the first game losing at Oakland, even though I probably shouldn't do that because they had the Sunday night and then the West Coast trip.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll give you that one. But to lose the next day 2-1, nope, not good enough. So they're not hitting right now for whatever reason. Every team goes through it. What Tampa Bay just scored 6 runs at Wrigley Field. So anything's possible. Okay, from how those things work. So I agree with your pick on that one. And say let's clean up again, Ross. Let's go 2-0 again.
Looking forward to it, Doug. So it's Arizona plus 110 over the Atlanta Braves for Ross Benjamin. It is the LA Dodgers minus 135 over the New York Yankees for Doug Upstone. Those games both go on Friday, June the 2nd. Doug, we got about 5 minutes here. So if you want to brief the folks on what you may have coming up over the weekend and anything you want to highlight.
Yeah, just in a general sense, like I said, and we got NHL coming up. I think there's going to be game 2 in the NBA, and I think that one of the things that's interesting about the with the NBA is what's going to happen with Jokic. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how Florida's going to defend him. And to me, that's kind of like that kind of sets the whole table for the series. So I'm really curious to see what happens tonight, and then obviously where that leads us from that standpoint. Like I said, and I've been a nice steady run. Not like I said, I'm not bragging about it or anything like that. I've been a nice steady run at the NBA, so I'm gonna look to continue that. And then with some baseball, things that, like I said, just been choppy kind of the first third of the season here. But the last 2 years I've gotten hot somewhere's in this vicinity, and I'm looking to do that again, Ross. So
tell the folks
I'm really excited about what's going on.
Yeah, you should be. In the NBA, the streaks that you're talking about that aren't exciting.
They're not. They don't make your fingers tingle.
Okay. All right, what are the streaks again?
Okay, well, I said 17-12 and 47-33. Like I said, they're solid. Okay, they're not. They're not dramatic. But the thing is, people that are buying my selections, they're winning money. Bottom line.
Okay? And there's no minus 180s in there, folks. So
no. I'm not taking, like, for example, I wouldn't take Denver minus 14 for minus 180. Okay,
or Denver on the money line tonight.
Or Denver on the money line. I'm not doing that either. No.
Yeah. So there you go. My NBA has been on fire during the postseason, and when you're doing this well, you want to brag. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to for you beside the customers you're making a lot of money for. But in any event, folks, it's all documented. 38-22 since the NBA play-in started. That's good for 63%. That includes a current 22-9 run, which is a little over 70%. Also, my NBA money line and point spread picks, my NBA sides, 31-14 since the beginning of the postseason. That's good for 69%. So a lot of good things. And I do have an NBA pick for tonight. I got the winning side in the Miami and Denver game. You can get that right now at rbwins.com. You can get any subscription plan there, and I'll have every game in the NBA Finals as long as it lasts. I'll have picks for you. rbwins.com is where you can find me, folks, and you can find Doug over at docsports.com. Doug will be back with us tomorrow. We're lucky to have him 2 days in a row. We'll be taping around 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, so the show will be available somewhere around 5 p.m. Eastern. But we're going to be covering a preview on the Stanley Cup Finals. I know some of you have been asking for the NHL out there. We're going to give it to you. And also, we'll have free picks on Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Florida Panthers and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. There's just something.
And I'll also have a series pick too.
There you go. There you go.
I've already prepared.
Yeah. So big show coming tomorrow, folks. Don't miss it. Anyway, until the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Don't forget to give us a like. If you haven't subscribed, take a second to do so. See that WC button on the bottom of the page. Click on that, subscribe, and then hit your notification bell. Until the next time, good luck and God bless, folks.